Sandy,
Yes.
this may be a little late, but this is advisory only. Where in the wording of that valid for people to understand that?
Could you come to the microphone, please? Thank you.
Nick McCurry from Guilford Timber Lane. If this is going to be advisory only, I think Gus brought up a very good point. Nobody that is not at this meeting tonight is going to understand that if this is advisory and the next one is only advisory for opinion's sake, then I think this needs to be amended to say that, because otherwise it looks like every other article we've talked about tonight. I think there'll be some confusion with the voters.
Madam Moderator, if you don't mind, I guess maybe I'll make an amendment to this article.
Proceed.
Let me read it and then I guess we'll talk about it. I'll amend it again for clarification purposes. Shall the town vote to adopt an ordinance that all town non-union employee contracts be approved by the Board of Selectmen as otherwise allowed by law?
That changes the intent.
Point of order.
Yes, Mr. Murphy.
I believe the RSA's no longer allow that kind of amendment to a petition warrant article.
Would you come to the microphone, please?
Certainly. Apologies. It's my understanding that the RSA was changed last year such that such an amendment to a petition warrant was no longer allowed because it would radically change the intent of the petition warrant. In fact, if I remember correctly, it was Senator Jim Forsyth who brought that RSA change forward to the legislature.
Mr. Murphy is correct that there was a legislative change last year that says no warrant article shall be amended to eliminate the subject matter of that article. So that the question that you're raising, in effect, is does this amendment change or eliminate the subject matter?
Yeah.
And the subject matter appears to be the approval of non-union employee contracts.
By the voters.
But that's the problem with this statute, that anybody can argue the different way as to what this language
Right,
means.
but this warrant article would be presented to the voters to be put on the ballot versus the amendment, which would be for the selectmen to do this. That radically changes the intent of the warrant. In effect, you've eliminated the subject.
Because they could do
Well,
it today.
it
The
doesn't,
do it today.
the problem is the statute, the problem in the context of the argument you're making is the statute doesn't say you can't eliminate the intent of it. Because I think the legislature realized it was very difficult to determine the intent. It says you can't eliminate the subject matter. Now,
Can't
so
radically
it's
change the intent.
it's the moderator's call as a first matter, and then eventually perhaps a court, as to what is the subject matter of the original article, and is the amendment that subject matter.
Do you happen to, I do not, but I would ask, do you have the RSA in front of you, sir?
I do.
Could you read it
I just did.
in its entirety?
It's in its entirety. I just read it.
Okay.
No warrant article shall be amended to eliminate the subject matter of the article, period. And then it goes on with one more sentence that doesn't really pertain to this factual situation.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Moderator, may I speak?
I'm just trying to clarify. I have not received a written amendment here. And I'm wondering if you wish to proceed.
I have one. Right here.
And has this been seconded? Did we receive a second?
Second.
By Mr. O'Brien. I'll allow for discussion, I will allow for discussion of this amendment.
To change it to say, shall the town vote to adopt an ordinance that all town non-union employee contracts be approved by the selectmen is exactly what we have today. That's exactly what we have today. So you make the entire petition warrant article moot. And I would claim that that is against the spirit of the RSA, which changes the subject of the warrant article, because the subject of the warrant article is to give that approval ability from the selectmen to the voters. And so I would have to argue, and perhaps Mr. Mitchell would acquiesce, that we are changing the subject of the warrant article by putting it back to what it is today, whereas the petitioners wish to take that and have that approved by the voters.
Mrs. Moderator?
Yes.
The same argument, folks, could be used for what the petitioner has already said, that if we were to make the amendment to say advisory, the petitioner could stand up and say the same argument. You're changing the subject.
Yeah.
But she clearly stated that she was okay with it being advisory only. So you can't have it both ways, in my non-legal opinion.
Perhaps Mr. Benavides would like to amend his amendment to just add at the end, advisory only, leaving the language as is.
To my amendment or to the petitioner's amendment, article?
Your amendment now says by the voters, or by the selectmen. I'm saying remove your amendment, leave it as is, and simply place advisory only.
So what you're suggesting, Mrs. Eichinger, is that the original article would be amended to include advisory only.
I'm not willing to make that amendment, but I'm asking Mr. Benavides, in order to prevent any legal issue that might arise, that he might do it.
That's fine, folks. As you heard from the petitioner, the threat of a lawsuit, pretty clear. I'll withdraw that amendment.
Just a parliamentary point.
Yes.
We have not voted to reconsider the final action on this.
Yeah, I was concerned about that because we did have a vote.
Ineffectual, but we had a vote.
But we did vote to place it on the ballot. So what you're suggesting is that we would have a vote to reconsider.
If we want to, if somebody wants to amend it, we would have to reconsider.
We'd have to have a vote to reconsider.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
It
sounds like nobody wants to amend it now, so
Right.
we don't have to go through that.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion on this Article 28?
Madam?
He withdrew the amendment.
Madam Moderator? So I'll make a motion for us to reconsider this amendment. Second.
We have received a motion to reconsider Article 28. It has been made by Mr. Benavides, seconded by Mr. Hayes. All those in favor of reconsidering Article 28, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. And opposed? No. I'm going to declare the ayes have it and that we will reconsider Article 28.
Okay, so Madam Moderator, I'm going to make an amendment to the article to read, shall the town vote to adopt an ordinance that all town non-union employee contracts be approved by the voters advisory only?
And is there a second to Mr. Benavides' amendment?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hayes. The amendment then would read for Article 28, shall the town vote to adopt an ordinance that all town non-union employee contracts be approved by the voters, comma, advisory only. Simple majority required. Is there any discussion or question on Article 28? Yes.
David Osmond, I have a comment really, and I guess I would direct it to the selectmen if I may. My understanding is the selectmen have been advised by council that this is not within their purview, that this would be in fact a nullity, not to amend it necessarily, but ultimately, the ultimate question as to whether it's possible to do this because of what the legislature has indicated is the proper authority. It's not before the body politic. So when a selectman asked for an ordinance to be passed on an advisory basis, which it knows on advice of council, makes no sense. I don't think it ought to be adding its imprimatur to that. Let this thing either go up or down in a natural way without the intervention of the Board of Selectmen.
Any other discussion or question? Seeing none, the amendment to Article 28 then reads, shall the town vote to adopt an ordinance that all town non-union employee contracts be approved by the voters, comma, advisory only. Simple majority required. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, no.
No.
I'm going to ask for a vote because I am unsure. Excuse me? Going to do a count? Mrs. Buckman, could I ask you to assist again? Mrs. Corrigan? Mrs. Eichinger? All those in favor of the amendment to adopt an ordinance that all town non-union employee contracts be approved by the voters, comma, advisory only. Raise your hand. All those opposed to the amendment, raise your hand. The amendment to Article 28 passes, 32 yes, 29 no. And so I will ask all those in favor of moving the article as amended for Article 28 to the official ballot, please signify by saying yes.
Yes.
And those opposed say no.
No.
The article as amended will appear on the ballot. Article 29. Shall the town vote to direct the selectmen to amend the Guilford Town personnel policies as follows? Parentheses, note this text consists of language in the Guilford Town personnel policies using strikeout through the words to be deleted, and using bold underlined text for words to be added. Simple majority required by petition, not recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 3-0. Whoops. Yeah, it does. Clarification, I'll come back to it. I would be most pleased to read this proposed changed amendment to the town personnel policies, if you would like me to do so.
Dispense with the reading.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. That's very kind of you. So I need someone to second Mr. Millam's request of waiving
Second.
the reading of this article. Mr. Eddy, thank you. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of waiving the reading of this article in its entirety signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Thank you. We need someone to make a motion to approve Article 29 for placement on the official ballot.
Madam Moderator, I would like to motion to move Article 29 for placement on the ballot as presented.
And is that seconded? Mr. Murphy, thank you.
Motion to amend.
Motion to amend.
I'd like it as is, other than adding advisory only at the end.
Could you put that in writing, please, Mr. O'Brien? Mr. O'Brien is preparing an amendment to Article 29.
I'll second the amendment.
It's been seconded by Mr. Hayes.
You can take a scribble.
So the wording of Article 29 in the amendment shall the town vote to direct the selectmen to amend the Guilford Town personnel policies as follows, with the addition of advisory only. So we would add the advisory only to this article. And this has been presented by Mr. O'Brien and seconded by Mr. Hayes. Is there anyone who would like to comment on the amendment to Article 29? Yes.
Alan Voivod, Gunstock Acres. Is it the opinion of the selectmen who are amending and seconding that having language that says direct to amend and then also saying advisory only, that this will be clear to the average voter what is actually happening and what the intent of the amendment is?
I'll be honest with you, the three of us have reviewed this. It's interesting that this language is taken from the personnel policy. However, some of this language has already been changed. We've made amendments to the personnel policy throughout the year. Just in speaking to the issue, we're very concerned that the voters may not understand what has happened at the deliberative session, since so many of them are not here tonight. So we do have that concern.
Would this be appropriate to suggest an amendment to the amendment then? Fair enough.
It has been brought to my attention, I'm just going to share this with you because I think it has some effect on our voting on the amendment on Article 29. There was an error made in calculations, and in fact, the amendment to Article 28 to add advisory only failed by 39 to 32. So in essence, with Article 28, we find ourselves back to the original article, which does not include the phrase advisory only. Am I totally confusing you at this hour? I apologize for that. Long ago? Okay.
Actually, I'll further confuse things, because I like to withdraw my amendment and make another amendment. To be more concise, and I apologize for the time, but it's very important.
Do we have to vote on the other, we voted on it as amended, do we have to re-vote?
I withdrew it.
I think what Mr. O'Brien is asking to do is withdraw his amendment.
No, but the previous warrant that...
Could you approach the microphone, because I think you're asking for a point of order here.
Just a procedural thing. The previous one that you said now had actually, the amendment failed. When we moved it to the floor, it was moved to the floor as amended. Do we have to go back and re-vote on that?
No.
It doesn't really matter, does it?
No.
It does not really matter.
Okay.
It is what it is.
Okay, the amendment has been withdrawn, and I'm assuming the person who seconded it, Mr. Hayes,
Yes.
has withdrawn his second.
Point of order,
Yes,
are we talking 28 or 29 now?
thank you. That's a very important point, isn't it? At this point, we are talking about Article 29, and I hope I didn't confuse you by sharing the results of 28. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. O'Brien.
Okay, here's my new amendment to Article 29, and that is, shall the town vote to have the selectmen consider amending the town of Guilford personnel policy to, one, change the maximum amount of merit pay increase from 4% to 2%, and two, require all full-time town employees to pay 20% towards the cost of their health and dental insurance benefits by the year 2020, contingent upon similar terms and conditions being approved in all of the union contracts. Not recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 3-0.
And is there a second to that amendment?
Second.
And that was seconded by
Gus.
It sounded like a Mr. Hayes voice.
He's getting it.
So then, the new amendment reads, this is Article 29 now. Mr. Horvath, we're on Article 29, right? Keep me straight here. Shall the town vote to have the selectmen consider amending the town of Guilford personnel policies to, parentheses 1, change the maximum amount of a merit pay increase from 4% to 2%, and 2, require all full-time town employees to pay 20% towards the cost of their health and dental insurance benefits by the year 2020, contingent upon similar terms and conditions being approved in all of the union contracts. Not recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 3-0. Mr. O'Brien, would you like to explain this amendment?
Sure. I'll start off by saying that not only do we not recommend the original article, we're not recommending any amendments from the standpoint that we'd rather not have either one of them pass. But I'll show you all the information that I have ready to talk about this thing, this article itself, and I'll just try to make it as brief as I can. But coming from a corporate background, the incentive for town employees to work hard to go from 4% to 2%, that means that if we have a very exemplary employee, that we can't give them a raise higher than 2%. If that was in your contract with your company, would you work hard? And that's what concerns me. Again, this petition article was used from an older version, as Selectman Hayes had said in the past. And also, kind of going along with the advisory aspect of it, by state law, the Board of Selectmen is the only body that can create, maintain, and change personnel policies. I guess that's all I'll say at this point. I think it's short and sweet.
Any questions or comments on the proposed amendment to Article 29?
This is more of a procedural thing and a question for the legal counsel. If I'm not mistaken, and it's been a little while since I read the RSA pertaining to petition warrant articles, but I thought that changes to the warrant article, petition warrant article, has to come from the floor, and I don't believe the selectmen can change it unless you're acting from the floor. Is that what's happening?
I'm a resident too.
Okay, I just want to clarify. I didn't quite understand. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, speaking to the amendment, I'm Bill Roderick, 14 Brewer Lane. Maybe I'm the only one here, but I'm confused about the amendment. Where is the wording going that the selectmen proposed?
I just changed the one word to direct to consider.
That's the only change? Okay, thank you.
Well, I changed, I'm sorry, I changed it for the other aspect of it. You're correct, I adjusted the other stuff, but the big thing in my mind is the change is the consider instead of direct.
Okay, but you want to change, like in A, you want to change exceptional 2% back to 4%? I'm confused about the wording that's being changed.
Well,
Not that I'm going to vote for this and I get in the voting booth. I think the amendment should be clear.
okay.
Everything else would be deleted, and it'd only be one paragraph? Okay, thank you.
A lot easier to read.
So is that clear to all of us gathered here, that Mr. O'Brien's amendment would remove all of the other verbiage that's been presented in this amendment, in this article?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I would like to ask a question of legal counsel. Given that the vast majority of the petition warrant article is being deleted, wouldn't that fall under changing the subject of the petition warrant article at deliberative session? I mean, a good bit of this is going away under this amendment.
Sure.
Sort of strange considering this article, because underlying it, and I think we've already agreed, is that neither the original nor the amendment is anything more than advisory. But within the context of comparing what was printed in the warrant and what is now printed in the amendment, it's the same question as we were considering in the previous article. Has the subject matter been eliminated? And while reasonable people may differ as to what the subject matter is, I believe, my take of it is the subject matter of the original article was a proposal to amend the personnel policy, and that's what the amendment does also.
Is there any other discussion or question on the proposed amendment to Article 29? Are you ready to vote? All those in favor of the motion to amend Article 29 to read, shall the town vote to have the selectmen consider amending the Town of Guilford personnel policies to, parentheses 1, change the maximum amount of a merit pay increase from 4% to 2%, and 2, parentheses, require all full-time town employees to pay 20% towards the cost of their health and dental insurance benefits by the year 2020, contingent upon similar terms and conditions being approved in all of the union contracts. Not recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 3-0. All those in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye. Aye. And all those opposed say no.
No.
I think I have to do a count again. So could our counters please come forward? All those in favor of the amendment to Article 29, raise your hand.
Let's go.
My contacts are all dried up. I'm assuming she's going to ask for the yays now, or the noes now, right?
All those opposed to the amendment to Article 29, raise your hand.
I'm no. 1, 2.
Well, it was quite a difference. Say it again. 64 to 9. The amendment passes. So all those in favor of placing the amendment to Article 29 on the...
Do you have any comment before you take this to vote? Do you have a comment before you take this to vote?
We've already voted on the amendment.
So so you're just going to now vote on the article?
We just
You don't take any comment?
to place it on the ballot. All those in favor of placing the amendment to Article 29 on the ballot, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no.
No.
I declare that Article 29, the amendment to Article 29 will be placed on the ballot. I'm very reluctant to go back to Article 28. We apologize for the error and addition. So Article 28 will now read, shall the town vote to adopt an ordinance that all town non-union employee contracts be approved by the voters? The question is, it may open up the opportunity for further discussion or question or amendment, since the other amendment was defeated. Is there anyone who cares to have any more discussion about Article 28? Thank God. I await a motion for the adjournment of this meeting.
So made.
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you very much.
Crop TV.